Welcome to Money News on Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. Joining us today is famed investor Jim Rogers, co-founder of the Quantum Fund, and he is also a best-selling author. He is the author of 5 books. His most recent is titled A Gift to My Children. Welcome back to Money News. It's nice to see you, Jim.
I'm delighted to be here, Kathleen.
Just talk to us about the book. I understand your children were the inspiration.
Yes, I came to parenthood late in life. In fact, I never wanted to have children before. I was totally wrong about that, by the way. These little girls are fabulous. But I started thinking about things I wanted to teach them and everything that my parents had taught me. And I started writing them down and using them in articles. And the next thing you know, I pull them all together and I have a book. I hope that they learn it all now, but I hope they also learn it when they're 25, 35, whatever.
Now, I understand in the book that you want not only the children, but also the public to live happy and prosperous lives by learning from both your mistakes and your triumphs. What lessons can people learn from you?
Well, the first lesson that I try to tell everybody, including my little girls, is figure out what your passions are and pursue your own passions. You're not going to be happy or successful if you don't pursue your own passions. If your parents say you've got to be a doctor and you really don't want to be a doctor, then don't be a doctor. Figure out what you love most of all and do it. That's the way you're going to be successful, and even if you're not successful, you're at least going to be happy. People who are pursuing their passions wake up every day and don't go to work. They wake up every day and have fun.
Playing to your strengths also is important, you say.
Yes, it's the same thing. Your passions usually are your strengths, because if you really, really, really love gardening, you're probably going to be a very good gardener. And someday you may have a chain of garden shops all over the world and listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So follow your own strengths.
What should young people know about investing?
Well, young people, first of all, need to know that money's not easy. It's difficult to get, it's difficult to keep, it's difficult to manage. My little girls have piggy banks. Each of them has 5 piggy banks. And we make them earn their money, and we make them spend their own money. If they want to buy a doll or anything else, they have to go in their own piggy banks and get out their own money. And that's the way I grew up, and I hope I'm doing the right thing with them. You can ask me in 30 years whether I did it right or not.
How do you feel about President Obama, and do you feel that his policies put our economy in danger?
Well, Mr. Obama unfortunately doesn't know much about economics, and the people around him know less. And so, he is making serious, serious mistakes, which all of us are going to pay for. Not just our children and grandchildren, we're going to pay because they're making serious mistakes.
Are there any lessons in your book that you would like for President Obama to learn?
Well, one of them is don't spend money you don't have. That's the first lesson I try to teach my little girls. Make sure you've earned the money and you have it. Don't spend it otherwise. And sitting around spending lots of money and building up gigantic debts is not good for any of us.
What is your take on the dollar right now?
Well, everybody's pessimistic on the dollar, including me, so that usually leads to a rally in any asset class, no matter what it is. So I would expect there to be a rally. I've accumulated more dollars now than I had maybe 2 months ago in anticipation of a rally. If the rally doesn't come, and the dollar just keeps going down, then I'll just have to panic and dump like everybody else. But I would expect a rally. Whether it lasts a quarter or a year, I have no idea. I just hope I'm smart enough to sell it sometimes if it happens.
There are some people who say that the dollar is not in jeopardy because there are so many other countries in this world that are in far worse shape than the United States is right now. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think those people should go and buy dollars, if that's what they think. Sure, there are countries in worse shape than the United States. But unfortunately, for us, there are countries that are in better shape than we are, and so more and more money is going to gravitate to those countries. But paper money all over the world is under suspicion now, because most countries, many countries, are printing money. It's never happened in world history that everybody, or nearly everybody, has printed money at the same time. So yes, some are worse off than we are, but some are better. The Canadian dollar is much sounder than the US dollar, the Australian dollar. Japan, Singapore, they're countries that are doing a reasonably good job.
Is inflation a concern of yours?
A serious concern. We have inflation now. The government lies to us about inflation, but everybody watching this knows that prices have been going up, and they're going to continue to go up, and they're going to get worse. And by the way, in the countries that don't lie, they acknowledge there's inflation. Australia keeps saying, look, we've got inflation. Well, the price of goods that they have are the same as the goods we have, so some countries are acknowledging that inflation is here. And it's going to get worse, Kathleen, because they keep printing money.
Gold is receding a bit. Where do you see it going?
Well, I own gold. I expect gold to go much higher over the next decade or two for a variety of reasons. Gold has been going straight up for the last few months, and when anything goes straight up for a while, it needs to have a correction.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect gold to be over $2,000 a year, an ounce sometime in the next decade or so, but who knows how high it will go. Mm-hmm. But if it goes down more, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more.
If the economy is weak, how do commodity prices increase?
Well, if there's shortages, commodity prices are determined by supply and demand. Mm-hmm. Now, demand can go down, but if supply goes down faster, you're still going to have higher prices. In the 1970s, we had bad economies everywhere, and yet prices of commodities went through the roof for 2 or 3 reasons. Main reason being that there were shortages which developed. We have shortages developing now of most commodities, and you're going to see higher prices going forward. If the world economy gets better, they're going to go higher, and if the world economy doesn't get better, commodity prices will still do well because they're printing so much money. And by the way, if the world economy doesn't get better, they're going to print a lot more money. So I own commodities.
We've heard from Washington that right now we are indeed in a recovery mode, but we've heard that from Washington before. Are we in a recovery right now?
If you listen to Washington, things will never get bad. You know, things are always going to be good and things are always going to be better. Some parts of America's economy are obviously doing better. I mean, they've been spending huge amounts of money, so the people who are getting that money are actually doing better, and they think they're doing better because they're getting it. But many other parts of America's economy and the world economy are not doing better. Remember, if you give money to these people, it's got to come from somewhere, and the people that the money's coming from are realizing that, you know, their future's not as good, and so no, the overall economy still has problems.
If the economic picture isn't what Washington says that it is, just how bad is it?
Well, again, some parts are better, but unemployment is still very high. There are going to be more bankruptcies. There's no question about that in the future. And what worries me the most, because they are pumping up some parts of the economy and papering over some of our problems, what worries me the most is when in 2010 or 2011 things start really getting bad again, they've shot all their bullets. I mean, there's not much ammunition left for the government to come in and spend more or print more without having really disastrous effects. So even if they can paper it over for a while, the worry is what happens when the next problem arises. And I assure you, we will have another problem. We always have and we always will.
So you're predicting things will indeed get worse over the next couple of years?
Well, I know things are going to get worse somewhere along the line because you've never had an unbroken era of prosperity throughout history. So I know things will get worse eventually. I would expect probably by 2011, 12, maybe even the end of 2010, we're going to have problems again in the world economy. And it may be caused by problems in the currency markets. I would expect there to be a currency crisis in the next year or two. There are many imbalances in the world, and if we start having currency turmoil, that could lead to economic turmoil, but we're certainly going to have problems again. Don't think it's finished, not by a long shot.
So when you talk about a currency crisis, exactly what is that going to involve?
Well, if you lived in Iceland 2 years ago, you would know what a currency crisis is. The value of their currency just totally collapsed, or Latvia or a few other places. What will happen is some currencies will start going down a great deal, and anybody who owns those currencies will be in trouble, economic trouble, and that's going to have a snowball effect and affect other people. Which currencies go down a lot, I'm not sure. The US dollar may be one of them, the pound sterling may be one of them, but that causes dislocations. As people get caught losing a lot of money, then that has a snowball effect.
So when are things going to get better?
That's a very good question. Some countries are going to get better sooner than in others. Unfortunately, we in the United States are the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, and so I'm afraid until somebody catches on that this cannot go on, we're going to continue to have problems for some time. Some of the Asian countries, however, are doing a much better job. The largest creditor nations in the world now are China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. Most of those Asian countries have built up huge savings by saving their money and working very hard. And so they're going to do better before the ones that are the big debtors. And unfortunately, you know who the big debtors are.
Last question, how would you advise someone to invest in a recession?
Invest only in what you yourself know a lot about, Kathleen. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to people you see on the television or read about. You know, or everybody watching this knows a lot about something, whether it's cars or fashion or gardening or sports, whatever it is. Find things in your area of expertise and then find investments, because you're going to know a lot more about those things than I ever will, or any other Wall Street investor. Figure out what you know the most about, and that's how you're going to get rich. Don't listen to other people. Follow your own knowledge.
Jim, thanks so much for joining us today. Congratulations on the book, A Gift to My Children. It's a great read.
Thank you, Kathleen. Let's do it again sometime.
I look forward to it. And thank you for watching Money News on Newsmax TV.
Sarah Palin's new book, Going Rogue in American Life, will be released on November 17th. You can be among the first to get your copy. Check out our incredible free offer for Sarah's new book. Just go to Newsmax.com and click on the top banner for this great offer. Act today.